Now, in other news today, the partner of Nicola Bulley has been telling Sky News of his agony after a body was found close to where Nicola went missing. The body, which hasn't yet been formally identified, was found yesterday morning around a mile from where the 45-year-old mother of two was last seen. The Home Secretary says she is not wholly satisfied with Lancashire Police's explanation for the personal details that they released about Nicola Bulley last week.
I did have concerns earlier in the week about some of the elements relating to the release of personal information of Nicola Bulley into the public domain. I raised those concerns with the Chief Constable. I wasn't wholly satisfied, I have to say, with some of the responses I got, but it is a matter for the police themselves. There are some investigations ongoing looking into how the investigation has been handled, and we must let that carry out its own process. But we must just let the investigation conclude, and then we will see what the investigations and the inquiries come back with.
Well, our Chief North of England correspondent Greg Milam is at St Michael's on Wire following this story for us today. And because, Greg, we are expecting an update soon from Lancashire Police as this formal identification process continues.
Yeah, I think we can expect there will be an update once they've completed that process that's been going on for some time now. And first and foremost, of course, they'll want to update the family of Nicola Bulley, her partner Paul, and their two daughters, of course, about the result of that identification process. It was about a mile upriver from here, which is close to where Nicola was last seen, that body was found yesterday. Two people out walking who saw something by a tree that had fallen into the water. They alerted the police. Underwater search teams and specialist officers were there to retrieve the body from the water. The police saying at this stage that death is unexplained. Of course, until there's a post-mortem examination, that would be the case. They didn't have an identification, but they informed Nicola's family, as you would expect, because of the search that's gone on for the last 24 days, wanting to keep them informed. Those comments from Nicola Bulley's partner, Paul, talking about the agony of these times, saying there are no words really, which I think we could all imagine in the situation they're in. And then those questions for the police, you heard from the Home Secretary there, those questions about the release of personal information last week is one thing. There are questions about the police search. There was a huge operation along this river and has been for 3 weeks now, searching, we think, in that area where that body was found. So questions about perhaps why it took so long. The police have said all along it's a very complex search, and expert divers have always said that it's a complex search in a changing situation in a river like this. And of course, remember, from very early on, the police said their working hypothesis was that Nicola Bulley went into the river around the time she disappeared. So we await that further detail from the police when they release it. But as I've got to say also, I think for this village, the family and friends, those who knew Nicola well, a real sense of sadness that this has come to the end that it appears to have come to now.
OK, Greg, thank you. Greg Milam there with the latest. We'll bring you that update from Lancashire Police as soon as it happens here on Sky News. Well, joining me now, former senior detective and criminologist, Dr. Graham Hill. Dr. Hill, thank you so much for joining us here on Sky News this afternoon. A big question while we wait for the formal identification of this body that was found is, how did it take 3 weeks for this to be discovered? We hear about the complexities of the search. Perhaps you can give us a bit of an insight into that.
Well, I'm not an expert on searching rivers, but I've run many similar investigations and they are very complex. The search strategy would be put in place. There'll be divers in the water very early on, but this is a tidal waterway, so the chances of the body moving are quite high. So it's a complex search for a body in any type of stretch of water, but this one, because it's tidal and it goes out to a sea inlet, would be very difficult to search. So whilst I know a lot of people are questioning why it's taken so long, we will find out in due course why the police took so long to find Nicola's body, if indeed it is Nicola's body that they found.
Yeah, we wait for that formal identification process to be completed. And as I said, Lancashire Police will provide an update, I'm sure, when that happens. And we'll bring it to you here on Sky News. Perhaps you can give us an idea of the kind of pressure the Lancashire police have been under. This has been going on for 3 weeks now. Huge high-profile case. Everyone in the country knows who Nicola Bulley is and has been desperate to find her and for information about her. Can you give us an idea of the pressure that the force have been under?
Well, I mean, these investigations are really difficult. When you get a high-risk missing person, they're deemed what's called a critical incident, and you appoint an SIO, and you have what's known as a gold group, which normally has a senior police officer, a deputy chief constable or assistant chief constable chairing that gold group. There's a set process that forces go through, and SIOs appointed to run investigations like this have to be very experienced and very highly trained. There's a number of national courses that people have to go on. So it staggers me that people can go on television that have never done this kind of work, go on TikTok, go on Twitter and start telling the police how to run an investigation like this. And some of the people that have been given airtime by the media, they were in the police force for a short period of time. They've never held rank or responsibility or led an investigation. And those that had led an investigation when they're in the police really should know better than to criticise an investigation while it's live and ongoing.
Lancashire Police's investigative focus in terms of they've been convinced from the start that Nicola Bulley, however it happened, was in that river. That was their sole focus, it seemed, from the start. They came in for criticism under that. In the fullness of time, as this plays out, they may be proved to be right. But some of the details that have been disclosed along the way, particularly, in the last week, it does seem like they were perhaps buckling to public pressure by releasing very private details about Nicola Bulley. That again, they've come into criticism for. Why did they feel the need to put that information out in the public domain?
Well, quite often when people go missing and it's a high-profile missing investigation, often they will say that the person who went missing has a number of vulnerabilities, but they won't disclose what those vulnerabilities are. I think in this case, Lancashire Police were given such an enormous task in terms of the media influence, the people turning up at the scene. I mean, they had to issue dispersal orders to stop people turning up at the scene. So they were in a very difficult position. And I think what they've done is they've made a calculated decision, but that by giving a bit more information, they will stop speculation. And the rumour is that there was people looking to sell information about Nicola. Now, if that's true, all of that will come out in the review that is being conducted. And when that review is concluded, then Lancashire Police may come in for some criticism. But I've got to point out that these investigations are never perfect. There is no such thing as a perfect investigation. And every investigation, each force learns a lot of lessons. And it may be that the lessons Lancashire learn may be lessons that nationally the British police force needs to learn about how we deal with the public when they interfere in a live investigation.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, isn't it? Like you said, it is the sort of TikTok, the rise of social media. A lot of people have talked about, the public's fascination at the moment with true crime documentaries and how that could have fed into the public's fascination with this, which, is an ongoing police investigation and a family's personal nightmare. What would you say to the public about their handling of this? I mean, a lot of, eyes on the police at the moment, but if you look at the wider public, and as you said, what's been going on online, what would you say to the public?
Well, I'd say you need to hang your head in shame, because this is a very difficult job to do. And if you've never done it, then shut up and watch the professionals do it, because there's a lot of people talking about things they just don't know. People speculating, and even experts that were called in to help with one aspect of the investigation then start to speculate about other aspects of the investigation that isn't their specialism. So all of this compounds. Even the SIO said that the influence the public and all of the speculation it had on the investigation had been significant. Now, when the SIO tells you that, what they're telling you is all of this noise and this background information is creating difficulty for me and my investigation. So they're not helping the public. I think they're not helping the police. But I think the thing that we need to move forward and think about is in future investigations, because there will be other cases like this, how do we or how does the police manage to get the public to give them information, but at the same time stop the public speculating and interfering in a live investigation? And that is a difficult thing to answer, and I'm not sure that any force has got an answer to that at the moment.
Yeah, a fine line between helping and hindering. Dr. Graham Hill, a former senior detective and criminologist, a research fellow at Leeds University. Really good to talk to you this afternoon. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Right, let's just bring you a little bit of breaking news.